Hello, Dolphins fans. Things got heated this Sunday with some news that will get the NFL talking. A possible trade of Tyreek Hill to the Cowboys, a drop in the draft pick number 13. I'll tell you everything I know, but first, make sure you've already hit the like button if you believe the best is yet to come for the Miami Dolphins. If possible, write something like this: Go Dolphins! Fins up! Now come with me. Let's dive into the latest news surrounding the Miami Dolphins and analyze what's real, what's speculation, and what it all means for the immediate future of this team. First things first, Tyreek Hill. This one is causing waves. Could Cheetah be packing his bags for Dallas? Let's get this straight right now. Tyreek Hill will not be traded before the NFL draft or June 1st. Math doesn't lie. If the Dolphins were to move him before June 1st, his current $27.7 million salary cap hit would increase to $28.8 million. That's a negative, and there's no financial logic behind it. Sure, there's talk of a mid-season trade if things get bad, but until then, Tyreek Hill is staying. Especially with the Dolphins front office and coaching staff in win-now mode to protect their jobs, trading their most explosive weapon simply doesn't make sense. But here's the harsh truth. As good as this team can be, they're also skating on thin ice. The ceiling? A divisional round playoff appearance. That's assuming everything goes right. Tua stays healthy, Tyreek stays elite, and the draft hits big, especially in the trenches. But the floor? Brace yourself. If things go south, if injuries hit, if draft picks bust, we're staring at a potential 5-12 disaster, a top 10 draft pick in 2026, and possibly the end of the Chris Greer-Mike McDaniel era. The stakes are sky high. Now let's pivot to the draft. And yes, the number 13 pick is the hot topic. There's real buzz about cornerback Will Johnson from Michigan. The fit with Jalen Ramsey? Perfect blend of youth and experience, present and future. But there's more. Defensive tackle is a massive need, and guys like Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, and Derek Harmon are on the Dolphins' radar if they decide to move up from their second-round position. Trading back into the late first? That's on the table, too. A combo like pick 48, pick 98, and a 2026 third-rounder might just do it. The payoff? A game-changing D lineman plus the bonus of a fifth-year option.
And yes, there's a world where Miami trades down instead. Say the Chargers come calling, a package of the 22nd pick, the 55th pick, and a 2026 third rounder. That gives the Dolphins 3 picks inside the top 60 and 4 in the top 100. It's the kind of draft capital that can change the complexion of a roster, especially for a team still patching holes across the offensive line, defensive front, and secondary. But be warned, trades like that are tough to pull off. You need a dance partner, the right prospect slipping down the board, and a fair price. If it happens, it has to be precise, calculated, and worth it. One name popping late in draft conversations? Desmond Watson, the 6 feet 5 inches, 450-pound nose tackle out of Florida. Viral at his pro day, Watson turned heads with surprising agility for his size. He's not an every-down player. Heck, one down might be pushing it. But in goal line or short yardage situations, he could be a valuable asset. The Dolphins have 3 seventh-round picks, and Watson could be the type of late flyer worth taking. A human wall on the goal line? That's intriguing. And then there's the quarterback question. Tua's backup for 2025? It's Zach Wilson. Yeah, that's Zach Wilson, signed from Denver to a 1-year, $6 million deal. This isn't a long-term fix, but a low-risk flyer. If Wilson flashes in camp or during preseason, maybe Miami keeps him around another year. Still, fans shouldn't be shocked if the Dolphins use one of their 2 fourth-round or 2 fifth-round picks on a developmental QB. Names like Quinn Ewers, Kyle McCord, Curtis Rourke, and Dylan Gabriel are all possibilities. But anything before round 3? That's off the table. There are just too many other pressing needs. And speaking of needs, it's trenches, trenches, trenches. If Miami wants to build a contender, look no further than the Philadelphia Eagles' blueprint. Dominate the offensive and defensive lines. It's how you win games in January. The Dolphins are still too soft up front. Until that changes, postseason wins are a dream, not a reality. So what's next? Trade up, trade down, or stay put at 13? Take a top-tier corner or grab a mauler in the trenches? And does Miami dare roll the dice on a developmental quarterback or a massive space seater like Desmond Watson in the 7th? There's no question. This draft is critical. The outcome could decide whether Miami takes the next step or takes a step back into chaos. But now, it's your turn. What would you do if you were Chris Greer? Would you trade down from 13 for more picks? Would you take Will Johnson and trade back into the first round for a DT? Do you want a QB in the 4th or 5th? And how do you feel about a potential Tyreek Hill midseason trade if things go sideways? Sound off in the comments. And let's not overlook what this draft class truly represents for the Miami Dolphins. It's not just about plugging holes or building for the future. It's about survival. The coaching staff, the front office, they're playing for their jobs. Every decision carries weight. Every pick has to count. So, whether it's the 13th overall pick or a flyer in the 7th, there's no room for error. Now back to the idea of trading down from 13. It's not just about stacking picks. It's about flexibility. If the Dolphins drop to, say, 22 with the Chargers and scoop up an extra second rounder at 55 and a future third, you suddenly have ammo to move around the board. You can attack the O-line with more aggression. You can double dip at defensive tackle and cornerback. You're not just hoping to hit, you're increasing your chances to guarantee it. And look, if you're worried about falling too far and missing out on elite talent, the Dolphins front office has a plan for that too. They're not interested in dropping beyond 24 or 25. That means if Will Campbell or Will Johnson is gone, they can still target a guy like Armand Bambeau or Kenneth Grant, both potential game wreckers. These aren't just good players. They're culture setters, tone setters, guys who change how your defense looks on day one. But here's the reality. The Dolphins have to be opportunistic. Say you're at 13 and the board doesn't fall your way. Rather than reaching, you work the phones. Teams like the Vikings, Texans, Bengals, and Chargers could all be trade-up candidates depending on how things unfold. The Vikings might jump for a playmaker. The Texans could push up for another weapon for C.J. Stroud. The Bengals might want an elite tackle. All those scenarios could net Miami the kind of return that lets them reshape their roster on the fly. Let's also not ignore the wild card of mid-round aggression. A pick package like 48, 98, and a future third is the type of ammo that can launch the Dolphins back into the late first round. Why does that matter? The 5th-year option. In a year where every dollar counts, having control of a talented young player for an extra season could be crucial, especially for a high-upside defensive lineman like Derek Harmon or Walter Nolan. These are not just fill-in guys. These are potential anchors for a D-line desperate for identity outside of Zach Sealer. And speaking of identity, what is this Dolphins team right now? Explosive? Sure. Fast? Definitely. But tough? Physical? Built to win in December and January? That's still a work in progress. That's why the draft has to focus on trenches, and that's why even a guy like Desmond Watson, the mammoth from Florida, should be on your radar. You don't need him playing 50 snaps a game. You need him on 3rd and inches. On the goal line, one job, blow up the middle. He could give Miami a situational advantage in short yardage that they simply don't have right now. And let's be honest, hope is not a plan. The Dolphins can't go into 2025 with nothing behind Tua and no succession plan. That's how you end up in quarterback purgatory. So yes, draft one in the 4th or 5th. Give yourself a chance at a cheap, moldable option. So, with all of this swirling, Tyreek's future murky, the trenches still soft, Tua needing insurance, and the draft capital to do something, what are the Dolphins going to do?